There's something about abandoned places, isn't there? Rotting farmhouses, old silent towns. They feel like they're just buzzing with stories right under the surface. We're drawn to them. But what happens when you get close enough to actually hear those stories firsthand? Well, today we're opening the case files.
From a really young age, we're all taught to recognize the warnings. No trespassing, keep out, dead end. They're basically boundaries, right? Lines on a map meant to keep us safe from whatever's on the other side.
But for some people, those warnings, they're more like an invitation. We're about to dive into 3 true accounts, 3 different case files about people who stepped right over those lines and found something waiting for them in the silence.
Okay, so our first case explores a really unsettling kind of fear. It's that horrifying moment when something that's supposed to mean you're safe suddenly means the exact opposite. It's about the terror of realizing you can't even trust what you're seeing. So this all kicks off with a classic teenage move. Picture this. An 18-year-old kid gets into a big fight with his parents and, full of pride and anger, decides he's not going home. Of course, the sun goes down, it's about 10 p.m., and now he needs a place to crash. He ends up at this old abandoned house he's explored before, only this time it's going to be very different.
He's barely even inside, just starting to head up the stairs when he hears it, a sound from downstairs. And it's not the house settling. Nope, these were footsteps. He just freezes. That feeling, that ice-cold dread that shoots through you when you realize your only way out is blocked. And you are not alone.
He peeks around the corner and he sees a man standing by the door, in a police uniform. And for just a split second, there's this wave of relief, but it just curdles into pure dread almost immediately. It's like his brain is seeing a cop, a symbol of safety, but literally every other signal is just screaming danger. The guy's voice is slurred. The questions he's asking, like, did you come here alone, are just deeply creepy. And the uniform itself is just wrong. It's distressed, it doesn't fit right, it looks like a costume. And then the man turns toward this pitch-black room and gestures. And the way he says it, it's this chilling mix of half friendly and just half horrifying. That's the moment. Everything in the kid's body is screaming that this is not a police officer, and that dark room is the absolute last place on earth he should ever go. And this is it, the do-or-die moment. The man takes just one step away from the front door, and that's the only chance he needs. He bolts. For one terrifying second, a hand clamps down on his collar, choking him, but he rips himself free and just sprints into the night, not stopping for miles. And get this? Here's the absolute irony of the whole thing. He finally makes it home, and there's a real cop car sitting in his driveway. His parents got worried and had reported him missing. But he is so shaken, so deep in shock, that he doesn't say a single word about the fake cop in the abandoned house. All right, so our second case file, this is a whole different brand of fear. This isn't about a threat you can see and understand. No, this is that deep, unsettling horror of stumbling onto something so bizarre, so alien, your mind just can't process it. So you've got these 2 friends, Marcus and Sam, exploring this famously creepy, falling apart farmhouse. The place is just dead quiet, the kind of silence that has a weight to it. And then they see it. A faint, flickering orange light coming through the floorboards from the room above them. In a house that hasn't had power in decades, that's impossible. So curiosity gets the better of them. They creep upstairs. The light is coming from under a closed door. They give it a slow push, and the creak just rips through the silence. And then they see it. A scene that the human brain is just not built to understand. 3 men on their knees, huddled in a perfect circle, surrounded by candlelight. And they are completely, utterly motionless. They don't react to the sound. They don't even look like they're breathing. The narrator says he only saw it for maybe 3 seconds. There was no weapon, no threats, no one said a word. It was just this immediate, overwhelming gut punch of wrongness. And his friend Marcus felt it too, because he immediately just yanked him back from the doorway. And thank God they listened to that gut feeling, because as they're scrambling down the stairs, that dead silence is just shattered by the sound of heavy footsteps running out of the room right after them. Those motionless figures, yeah, they weren't statues. They dive out the same window they came in through and just sprint for the woods. And the craziest part, they never spoke about it again. It's like they mutually agreed to just forget what they saw.
Years later, the narrator went back, and the farmhouse was just gone, demolished. The land was flat and empty, leaving no answers, just this chilling, unsolved memory.
All right, our final case. This one takes us out of the houses and deep into the wilderness. And we're tapping into something really, really old here. That primal, ancient fear of being watched, of being hunted, of becoming prey.
So a backpacker hikes way out to this abandoned mining town deep in the mountains, and his whole day just becomes this slow burn of escalating dread. It starts with a weird vibe in the town, which leads to a strange rumbling from the mine shaft, then that unmistakable feeling of being watched at his campsite, and it all culminates in one single, sharp sound in the pitch-black night. When he gets to the entrance of the mine, he's hit with this low, deep, rumbling sound that he says he could actually feel vibrating inside his chest. It's his own body screaming at him, "Do not go in there." It's such a powerful physical rejection that he literally cannot make his feet take another step forward.
Back at his camp that night, after listening to this weird elk call that hasn't moved for hours, he hears a twig snap close by. And this is the moment. He could have just brushed it off, told himself, it's just an animal, I'm being paranoid, but he doesn't. He chooses to trust that deep gut feeling that's been building all day long.
He moves, fast. He packs his entire camp in just a few minutes. He smothers his campfire. And the instant that light goes out, plunging him into total darkness, he hears it. Footsteps, sprinting directly at him from where that sound came from. He doesn't wait to see what it is. He just turns and runs for his life.
And this detail is just so chilling. Whatever was chasing him, it never came out onto the open trail. It's as if it just stopped right at the edge of the woods, perfectly content to stay in the shadows, in its territory. It didn't feel like a person. It felt like it was a part of the darkness itself. So there you have it. 3 completely different stories, right? A fake cop, a silent ritual, a forest stalker. But when you actually lay them all out next to each other, you start to see this fascinating map of what human beings are really truly afraid of.
Let's just break this down. The fake cop? That's a psychological threat. It's the terror that comes from a deep violation of trust, when a symbol of safety gets corrupted. The silent circle? That's the fear of the incomprehensible, the raw terror of the unknown, of something that defies all logic. And the forest watcher? Well, that's as primal as it gets. That's the ancient, hardwired fear of being hunted. You notice every single story ends with a desperate run for survival, right? All of it driven by pure instinct. What this really proves is that internal alarm we all have, that little voice telling you something is wrong, it's not just paranoia. It's an ancient warning system. It's a deeper kind of knowing that tells you when you've strayed too far off the path and stepped right into a story that was never meant for you.